G'day, my name is Craig and I'm an Aussie right here in America. If you didn't already know, and if you're new to the channel, then welcome, and maybe even think about having a little subscribe, or even boop that little boop, press the little like button. I don't know why I said boop. Press the little like button down there so these sort of videos can be shared with other Americans and other people of similar interests. So today's video is all about tipping. That's right, tipping. Why is it about tipping? Well, I need a haircut desperately. And I thought to myself, well, what's today's vlog going to be about? And I thought to myself, well, should I tip for a haircut? So I'm going to give you a few hints, tips and tricks about tips. Tips about tips, does that sound right? And then right at the very end, I'm going to give you my personal and honest opinion about the art of tipping, the habit of tipping. So let me start and give you my background. My background, obviously, I'm from Australia. Do we tip in Australia? And the answer is predominantly no. Why? Because our waiters and servers and other people in the service industry are paid well. Does that mean you can't tip? No, you can tip. In actual fact, in high-end restaurants in Australia, you kind of are expected to tip some sort. And I'm telling you now, if you're on a date in Australia and you're in a nice restaurant, and if you don't give a tip, then that's not a very good sign for things to come, so to speak. But when it comes to sitting down and having a beer at a bar or, at a club or a pub, then tipping is not required at all. Some cases, if you're paying with cash, you may round it up to the nearest dollar. So, if it's $4.50, you may give them a $5 note and say, keep the change, mate. So, but apart from that, tipping in Australia, it's not customary and it's not really required. So that's my background. Now, what I found here in America, when do you need to tip? In what circumstances do you need to tip here in America? I've researched this and I've got a bit of a list. Before we get into tipping, I'm going to tell you what I've researched, the history of tipping in America. The history of it dates back to the Civil War. Various texts say that new Americans actually learned it from their British peers. So did it come from Britain? Did it come from Britain? It may have come from Britain, but it was a very polarizing concept. And there was an Anti-Tipping Society of America actually formed. An Anti-Tipping Society of America was formed. And that was formed to discourage the practice of tipping itself. Eventually, tipping became formalized around 1960, and that was due to Congress and the government enacting the actual wage prices. Back then, wages were about $30 a month, I do believe, which is like $2.13 an hour. And with that law came the service industry as we know it today. Service industry, tips. Non-service industry, no tips. Now, are you ready for this? Here's a little bit of a tidbit for you, and that is those minimum wages as of 2020, different now, but I look back and as of 2020, those minimum wages were still in place. They were still $2.13 per hour. And the average salary was $85.20 a week. In today's society, $85.20 a week? That doesn't even fill up your gas tank. A little bit of my personal opinion and also what I've read as well. Tipping started as a way to get great service. So if you have great service, then you get good tips. So it made servers or people in the service industry perform better. So they realized that the better they perform, the more money they actually get. But now, as we all know, tipping is stock standard here in America. And unfortunately, it doesn't matter how good or bad the service is, you're looked down upon, you're frowned upon if you don't tip or give a bad tip. So this gives me to the next point, and that is, what do we actually tip for? Well, personally, what I can see is anything in the service industry. If you go to a bar, you're being served by a server. You tip that server. If you go to a hairdresser and get your hair cut, you're getting your hair cut as a service. You tip the hairdresser. You could even get furniture removalists in to move your furniture from one house to another, and you tip your furniture removalists because that is a service industry. So anything really in the actual service industry. However, things like fast food, that's the service industry. You're getting served by servers, but they're not actually waiting upon you at a table. You walk up to them, you get served, you order your McDonald's, you go through drive-through, you order your Starbucks, whatever it might be. Are you expected to tip then? No. The other one is common in today's society as well, is things like taxis or Ubers. Are you expected to tip a taxi driver or an Uber? The answer is yes. And actually, I think Uber itself, I've never used Uber here in America, but Uber itself has a tipping function within the app. So next question you get is, how much do you predominantly tip? Well, that does vary. And when it comes to any sort of eating establishments, service eating establishments or bars, the idea is this: 15% of your tab for bad service, 18% for average, or 20% for good service. However, as a stock standard rule, it's 20%, for me personally, it's 20% across the board. Do you have to do some maths, especially after you've been drinking? Yes. But it's not that hard to do when it's just an easy 20% across the board. Not hard to do. $50, 20% of $50, for instance, is $10. That's $60. It's not that hard. Well, for me anyway. And if it is too hard for you, everyone has a calculator on their phone to work it out. Actually, I think you can even work it out now on your Apple Watch as well. There's actually a part where it says tips and a percentage of tips, so you can scroll through what percent you want to give. That's Apple Watch. Apple Watch, not sponsored. I also give 20% for like haircuts, for instance, as well. So if it's a $25 haircut, then I give them an extra $5. That's $30 for the haircut instead of the $5 to them. But when it comes to things like hotel rooms, for instance, if you're going to get your hotel room made up each day, it is customary to leave a tip for the person who makes up your room. For the simple reason is, if you leave it to the end of your stay and you give the tip as a whole tip, I can tell you now, those people who made up your room are not going to see any of that money whatsoever. And this brings me to another little tip about tips. Oh, it's so confusing. Cash. Yes, cash. So if I'm at a bar or at a restaurant or some sort, I will pay the full amount via my card, my credit card, etc. But I will have cash on me and write in the little tip section, cash, and give the cash for the tip and the card for the bill. Why is that, you ask? Well, two reasons. I won't talk about the IRS reason, but the other reason, because this is YouTube, but the other reason is that the cash itself will go straight direct to the pocket of your server, because your server is the one that's actually serving you. He or she is the one that will pick up the cash and put it in their pocket. If they have to go back and then pull it out of the till, it may go to their boss. It may go to a joint tip jar, for instance, as well. I like to give it cash separately, so the server directly will receive that particular money. Same with hotel rooms. You leave the cash on the bench as a tip. How much do you leave? Well, it's up to you, but normally between $2 to $5, I do believe, is average for a person in a hotel room. It's the same thing with Uber rides as well, like Ubers or taxis. It's between $2 to $5, I do believe. Another thing people ask, and that is, if I'm buying drinks at a bar, in Australia, you buy drinks at a bar, you pay for every single round of drinks. You don't have a tab. In most cases here in America, clubs, pubs, bars, restaurants, they'll set up a tab for you. Some may have to take your credit card and hold it for you whilst you're drinking and consuming food and beverages. But apart from that, they can set up a tab for you. People have asked me, Craig, what's the difference between paying for each round, including the tip, and paying totally and include the tip? Price-wise, what's the difference? Nothing. Why? Because it's all the same. 20%. 20% of $1 is 20 cents. 20% of $100 is $20. So if you drink 100 drinks, you're going to pay the $20 anyway. So it doesn't matter. Does it make sense? Maths is maths. It doesn't change people. So some people say, oh, I don't want to pay like per drink because it costs me more than in tips. No, it doesn't. It doesn't cost you more in tips. It's the same amount if you stick to the 20% rule. Now, I will say this as well. I've learned here, if you go to a particular establishment, especially like a bar area, and you befriending the person behind the bar, and they're very good and they're chatty and they're very nice, very helpful, and you enjoy talking to them, why not give them a little bit extra tip here and there, especially if it's a local bar, because when you go back, you may suddenly see your overall bill reduce. Yes. So sometimes they'll slip you a drink here or there without actually putting it through the register. What do you do in those circumstances? Do you still give them the 20% of the bill? No. You work it out in your mind and give them the total bill plus 20% what it would have been, and then they then get the cash because they're good at what they do. They deserve the money. They deserve the extra cash in which they're given, especially when they give you free drinks and start looking after you. And that may be the case. If you're a boss, no, they don't do that here. If you're a boss watching this, no, they don't do that. They don't do that. But it is something to think about, especially if you're starting to get like local haunts, somewhere where you enjoy going. You know, you enjoy the company of the bartenders, and that's been the fact for me at a couple of locations now too. One being the Buffalo Wild Wings, as you've seen in the video before. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put the link up the top. I think it's that side. Buffalo Wild Wings, delicious food. And the other one here is called the Office Lounge. And the Office Lounge is very nice, very relaxed. I've been there a few times now just to chill back, have a couple of beers, maybe have some food, watch the TV, and also chat away to the staff. And the staff there are fantastic. They're really, really nice people. So this brings me to my opinion of tipping. What's my opinion of tipping? Should you have to tip? My opinion is no, you shouldn't have to tip, but you do tip for good service. And this is what I feel. Do you need to do a percentage? No, personally, I mean, I do here, but do I want to? No, I want to give someone extra money if they deserve it. No other reason, because I have had bad service here, and it's like pulling a tooth sometimes to pull out that extra 20 bucks or whatever it might be and give it to the person who doesn't even give two hoots about you, doesn't even consider it. Yes, people have a bad day. I get that. Everyone has a bad day at work. But, tipping, should it be required? No. But then again, this is America, so what do? I'm an Aussie in America, so I've got to conform to the American rules. Anyway, enough of the chat. Let's go get my hair cut. That's a bit rough, but here we go. Haircut done. Not too bad at all. I quite enjoyed that. And of course, I gave him a tip. There's several reasons why you give him a tip, but number one is so he doesn't do a bad job the next time I go there. All right, I'm going to leave you with a nice little time lapse of, it's all cloudy today, so I'll see what I'm going to leave you with. I don't exactly know right now what I'm going to leave you with, so stay tuned. Meanwhile, if you like this video, don't forget to hit that little like button down there so others can see this sort of style video as well, and hit the subscribe button as well if you haven't already hit that too. You want to see these, often, don't you? Surely. With this ugly mug in front of your computer or your device. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and as always, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.